All right, let's get into it. Today we're going to break down the playbook for building a massive, global ride-hailing empire. And we're doing it using a really cool business simulation as our guide.
So I want you to imagine this. You're the CEO. Some VCs just handed you a massive check. The market? It's wide open, but so is the competition. That very first decision you make, well, it could make or break your entire company.
And there it is, $10 million. That's your starting line. Now, that sounds like a ton of money, right? But in the world of global expansion, it can literally disappear in the blink of an eye if you don't have a rock-solid strategy.
Now, this isn't just some thought experiment. This is the core of the Be Global simulation. Think of it like a virtual arena, one that's designed to push your international marketing and strategy skills to the absolute limit in the super fast-paced ride-hailing business.
Okay, so the rules are pretty simple, but the stakes are incredibly high. You're the CEO. You'll make decisions year by year trying to expand your reach. But you have got to watch your cash flow. If you dip $100 million into the red, it is game over.
So how do you actually come out on top? This is where it gets really interesting. See, the goal isn't just about making money. In this simulation, victory is defined across three totally distinct dimensions.
First up, you've got the most obvious one. Win financially. This is pure bottom-line thinking. Are you building up your war chest? Are you growing profits and stacking cash so you have the fuel you need for your next big move? Second, you've got to win the market. This is all about capturing hearts and minds, or, in this case, people's phones. We're talking about growing your user base and grabbing a huge share of the total rides in every country you operate in.
And third, you have to win the world. This is about painting the map your company's color. Can you build a truly global brand? Can you expand into new territories and make sure that if one market slows down, your whole empire doesn't just crumble?
Listen, before you spend a single dollar of that $10 million, you absolutely have to do your homework. The simulation is packed with real-world data, and a smart CEO always studies the landscape before making a move. To make that right first move, you gotta look beyond the obvious. Sure, population and GDP are important, but what about mobile phone penetration? I mean, if people don't have smartphones, you don't have a business. You also have to weigh the regulatory headaches you might face, and even consider something as basic as the quality of the roads. And all of this is before you even start to size up the local competition you'll be fighting against.
Okay, so once you've done your analysis, it is time to act. The whole game is built around this core loop that actually mirrors how real businesses operate. You make a plan, you execute it, and then you see what happens.
Right, so each year in the game follows this four-step cycle. First, you do that deep dive analysis we just talked about. Second, you commit to your big decisions, where to launch, how much to spend. Third, you launch. And finally, step 4, you review the results, what worked, what didn't, which feeds right back into your analysis for the next year. It's this constant loop of strategy and adaptation.
So one of your first big calls is how you enter a new country. Do you go all in, foreign direct investment, and build everything from the ground up yourself? That gives you total control. But man, it costs a fortune. The other option is a joint venture, where you partner with a local company. It's cheaper, you get that local know-how, but you have to share the pie. It's that classic business trade-off, control versus cost.
Next up, you've got to run your marketing playbook. You're not just setting one price for everybody, you're tailoring your price and your profit margin for each specific country. You have to choose, do you go with a more effective but way more expensive local marketing campaign, or a cheaper global one that helps build your brand? Then you decide where to put your money based on how aggressive you want to be in each market.
So, you've made your moves, but how do you actually know if you're winning? Well, that's where the scoreboard comes in. It tracks all of your key performance indicators, your KPIs.
Your performance is tracked across those three core areas we talked about earlier: financial, market, and global. And this really highlights the central challenge of the game. You can't just focus on profit. You have to balance that with user growth and global expansion. It's a tricky balancing act.
Let's break that down a little. Financially, they're tracking your profit and your cash on hand. In the market category, it's all about how many users you have and what your market share is. And for your global footprint, they're measuring the number of countries and regions you're in, plus how diversified your revenue is.
Now, your final score isn't just a snapshot of how you did in the last year. 40% is based on your raw performance against your competitors. But get this, a full 30% is based on your evolution, on your growth over time. And the other 30% comes from your final ranking. So it's not just about where you finish, it's about how you got there.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, here are some of the milestones. Hitting level 1 means you've got 500,000 users and 10 million in cash. But to get all the way to the top, level 10, you're aiming for over 250 million users and $1 billion in cash. That journey from 1 to 10, that's the whole game.
And here is a critical piece of advice, straight from the simulations playbook. Do not panic if you're losing money at first. This is a classic tech startup strategy. You burn cash to grow your user base as fast as you possibly can. The goal is to capture the market first and then worry about profitability later.
So there you have it. You've seen the map, you've got the capital, you understand the rules of the game, and you know how they're going to keep score. Your journey from a $10 million startup to a global powerhouse starts right now. The only question left is, what's your first move?